Welcome back, tribe. Welcome back, tribe. Have an episode here from 60 Minutes. They'd say Japan's population shrinking as marriage and birth rates plummet. Let's see how bad it's gotten there.
The world's population may have recently exceeded 8 billion, but it's a deceptive number. Not only is growth unevenly distributed, but in so many countries, population is in decline. In some cases, steep, deep decline. Maybe most graphically and demographically, there's Japan, a country that, since hitting a high of 128 million citizens in 2008, has lost population for 15 years running and is on pace to shrink by half by this century's end, despite government measures to halt the decline. This has huge impacts on the economy, the healthcare system, education, housing, national defense, immigration, the culture at large. Governments can control interest rates and inflation rates. Stimulating birth rates is far harder. We report from the land of the rising sun, now also the land of declining sons and daughters.
The story will continue in a moment.
Ichi Japan sits regally, wedged between mountains an hour and a half west of Kyoto. Its listed population just shy of 50. But if it seems like more, it's for good reason. The village comes embroidered with 40 lifelike puppets. In the middle of town, on a playground, pedaling off toward the woods.
It's lonely here. Back in my day, the village was full of kids.
Shinichi Moriyama is the town puppet master, overseeing the making and then scattering of dolls throughout Ichi populating a depopulating village.
Japan just got rated as like being the highest IQ country too. It makes sense that they're having problems and not having kids. Something about smart people not having enough kids. Why? What calculation? Well, we know what the calculations are. Let's just see more of this video. But we need some sort of cultural uprooting that teaches smart people with money that children is an absolute not a great investment. Let me tell you, it's a critical investment in not only yourself, but in your country. Like that narrative has to shift completely because all kids are seen as today from top to bottom. It doesn't matter. It's burdens in the economic sense, in the productivity sense at work, into being a good little slop producer in a cubicle for a corporation. That's insane, man. That's not healthy. And then we're feeling the effects right now. Look at what Japan is like America 20 years into the future.
Say it's lonely here. Are the puppets a way to make things a little less lonely?
Puppets are no substitute for people, of course, but making them cheers us up.
This is as good a snapshot as any of Japan's demographic crisis. There are hundreds of communities here fading like Ichi Do you think there might come a day when the puppet population exceeds the human population?
So, if things keep going the way they are right now, of course our population will decrease. Maybe it'll go down to 40, or maybe 30. But at the same time, my ability to continue making puppets is finite. So yes, I am deeply worried about the future of our village.
Modern Japan sounds like a sci-fi premise. The incredible shrinking country. Go-Go Tokyo is the world's largest city, and Japan has one of the world's longest national life expectancies, 85 years. But it's also losing population at a staggering rate. Last year, more than 2 people died for every new baby born. A net loss of almost 1 million. Today, Japanese buy more adult diapers than buy baby diapers. Is there a more urgent issue in Japan right now than this demographic crisis?
There are climate change, government deficit, but if there's no people living in Japan...
It's all relevant. Mm-hmm. Climate change and government deficits in the military if you don't have people living here.
That's right. The central door is only for the emperor when he...
A longtime high-ranking minister in Japan's parliament, Taro Kono, was nearly elected prime minister in 2021 and says he intends to seek the highest office again. What does Japan look like if it continues to shrink like this?
There are less and less number of young generation, and all the burdens are on the young generation, and they won't be able to sustain. So society is going to be breaking up. Economy is going to stagnate. Even for self-defense force, last year, we recruited only half of what we need.
The Japanese military.
Mm-hmm. You feel it.
Declining population is hardly unique to Japan. Name a country outside Africa, and odds are good it's losing people, or about to. In the U.S., the fertility rate is at an all-time low. Donald Trump has declared the collapse of fertility a crucial threat to the West. Kono wishes his country had been better prepared.
Every sector, even in the government, there's a labor shortage. And we really need to invest in technology to replace the human being. But we are still slow to do that. The alternative is to open up the country to foreign immigrants.
No.
There's some psychological barrier to open up the country.
What do you mean by that?
Well,
Common sense. Foreigners aren't going to solve your problem. Foreigners have no ties to the land. Foreigners won't fight if there's ever an issue. They'll just return to where they originally came from. Foreigners won't have the level of cohesion in society because they're not your brothers. Foreigners also won't be as highly skilled as what the Japanese need in their trades and industries. Sorry. Not sorry. There's already issues where they've immigrated a ton of like Syrians and Africans and some other shit. And it's just like, these people aren't filling gaps that this country desperately needs. You're just getting bodies to do like menial work, and it's causing problems. Like, they're now starting to be on social media, some videos of them causing problems because the world clash is too different. You need highly educated immigrants, which already have mobility, that don't want to come to Japan because they have a problem. Japan's specific problem is they're very closed off to foreigners in general, culturally. Like, they do not speak anything other than Japanese over there. For the most part, it's very hard to get around Japan if you don't speak a little bit of Japanese. It really, compared to other countries where they'll even speak with you in broken English, in Japan, there's shops that you can walk into and you'll be turned away that says no foreigners because they don't want the hassle of trying to converse with you. It's true. They're xenophobic, whatever that word means. They're just preserving their culture. They were the number 2 economy for the longest time. At one point, the number 1, I think. And the golden, gem of Asia. They had a powerful culture, a powerful society. It's just they're stuck in the 1990s. They're very stubborn in like the government still using fax machines and like old tech like that and shit. They haven't really adapted to the high speed, small startup kind of culture of these Silicon Valley type companies and, dynamic. They're not dynamos. They're just, they have their way of doing things, very precise. This is how it's done, and outside forces be damned. And their economy is kind of struggled. They've been stuck. There's a funny meme that says Japan was in the 1990s in 1970, and then the rest of the world was catching them. It's like America was in the 1970s in the 70s. And then it said, like, in the 1990s, Japan was in the 1990s and America was in the 1990s. And then in 2010, America was in 2010 and Japan was in the 1990s. And so they're like stuck in the 90s era of their advancement ever since. I mean, this is like controversial to say, but if you know a little bit about the history, you could, on a technical level, say the United States engineered Japan's downfall in a way. I'm not going to get into that, but you could read up on it, what we did.
I mean, the Japanese have been very homogeneous. Many Japanese don't know how to deal with non-Japanese living in the society.
Japan is also the world's 4th largest economy.
Mm-hmm.
Can it continue to be a power like that if the population keeps declining?
Nope.
In part, Japan's declining demographics owes to a spike in the success of women in the workforce. And in Japan, a famously punishing work culture coupled with a men-first social culture.
There's a Japanese dude that's living here in the Balkans, and he's living in Serbia. And me and my woman were watching his videos, and he's like, the epitome of what a Japanese dude is, like absolute insane discipline, hard worker. He completely engrossed himself in Serbian culture, speaks perfect Serbian, like you could understand everything. Discipline, bro. He didn't go there to just like get a handout. Like, he's created a successful business, whatever, all that shit, and he lives and he enjoys the freedom that Serbia has. But what he was saying is there has to be an in-between. So I was noticing the same shit here in the Balkans. There's a lack of discipline, a lack of maintenance, a lack of care in the people here. It's always me. What I was here first. I don't care. I need to get there quicker than you. That kind of mentality. And he said, if you could blend like Balkan culture with the strictness of Japanese to meet somewhere in the middle, not too strict, just in the middle, a bit of Balkan freedom with some, discipline mixed in, you'd have like a perfect culture. Everything would be clean, because he was showing parts of like, Belgrade, and it was like dirty, and there's trash somewhere like under a bridge where there was a waterway, and like graffiti and shit. And he's like, the rubbish and the graffiti, taints the beauty of the country, and that the corruption, right, because the government's not doing their job fully, taints the potential of the country. And this is a Balkan-wide problem. Anybody can look at their countries and say the same thing. It's lacking because of that mentality. And he was just saying, but also it's too strict in Japan, and you're a robot, and you're not allowed to stick out like a sore thumb in the saving face culture. And it's like, it's incredible to see that guy speak about the two, vastly different worlds of the Balkans and Japan. And then he would say like, man, it's so strict in Japan that the young people are being crushed to death working these long jobs. The government doesn't help them in any way, even though there are programs. The programs are not effective. They have a very old world mentality still. Your job is literally living at work, and then you're expected to somehow have a family in a culture that has produced the hikikomori men, right? Basically the original incels. Like it's all of this has happened in Japan. I'm telling you, just look at where Japan is. 20 years from now, America will be there. It's incredible.
Makes it all the more difficult to balance career and family. Still more so amid a persistently stagnant economy.
Up through the 1980s, the bubble years, Japan had omiai. They had arranged marriage. The corporate guys would marry the office ladies, and this was all set up. It's gone now. And the office ladies make more money than the corporate guys. So now you have this shift in economics that has not been reflected in social norms.
Roland Keltz is a Japanese-American writer. He's married, but he's well aware that he's the exception. In 2023, fewer than 500,000 Japanese couples married, the lowest number since 1917. I'm not sure other societies in the world have an implosion of marriage.
Well, Japan's, I think, ahead of the game. Japan's where we're all headed.
Do you think this is a harbinger?
I agree.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's a canary in a coal mine.
It doesn't help Japan's marriage rates, and therefore birth rates, that a growing number of businesses now cater to the rise of parties of one.
I mean, you and I are not supposed to talk to each other over this thing.
We met Keltz at a ramen joint designed specifically for dining in solitude. There's single karaoke. We visited a bar open only to those arriving stag. Arigato. There are solo weddings, replete with professional photo shoots.
Oh, my Lord.
But that's not all. Lately, alternative romance is highly in vogue. Just as robots today are helping ease some of the national labor shortages, inanimate objects are also making their way into the bedroom. We met Akihiko Kondo, who told us he sleeps alongside the anime character Miku, whom he married in a formal ceremony in 2018. He's one of thousands of Japanese who unashamedly say they are in a monogamous romantic relationship with a fictional character.
How the mighty have fallen. Bro, this was samurai culture. This was the epitome of discipline and control. Miyamoto Musashi, the 5 rings. What? It's sumo. So many things have come out of Japan. I can't even begin. What do you say? What does this mean for the United States? What is 20 years from now? If America is like the loud, rough and tumble, dude's wearing the American flag on his chest, cowboy hat, blonde hair, 2 guns, bald eagle screaming in the background. You're thinking Humvees, fucking B-2 Spirit bombers, whatever. The stereotypical cowboy American that overseas sees us all as. This is where the samurai have gotten to. Where the fuck do we? Well, technically, we cut our dicks off and pretend we got vaginas with some horrendous surgery. Women are cutting off their breasts and thinking that they're men now, and dudes will put on lipstick and wear a dress and be like, I am now a woman. So, we see where we fall. I'm sure just there's us that go and look at that and go, no fucking way, bro. We can't let it get that far. This can't be a societal-wide thing. It's still small and in little circles. Super, very woke liberal circles. But this in Japan, if this is 20 years into the future, how much more normalized will that become? Because I'm sure there are strong, rough, what is it? The Yakuza is what they have. Gangster dudes, maybe high-test dudes, samurai-level disciplined Japanese men that are still holding it down and doing their fucking country proud. But if you extrapolate 20 more plus years of America headed in the direction it's headed, what will be left of us? I don't know, man. If you want an answer to that, or at least a gleam a bit into the future, you know how everybody says the youngest generation of boys, they practically look like women. They're skinny as fuck. They have no chins. They're all underweight, or they're all super fucking fat. They have no body hair. They're feminine as fuck. Their voices are really high, like Gen Alpha and shit. Look at all the youngest. They look like little girls walking around. And then you see video, and this decline has been happening. If you look at those old generations and those JFK videos where they were training boys, getting them basically military ready for war. Like he said, healthy nation is the utmost important to national defense. And they had those Sierra Blue training programs. And those guys were doing the obstacle courses, all shredded, all got fucking Hollywood level square jawlines and shit. six-pack abs, muscle striations on their back. You could see clearly. And then you got the femboys of today. It's already happening before our eyes. We just refuse to accept it. So 20 more years of that, what? It's hard to even comprehend.
Staggeringly, or maybe not, almost half of the country's millennial singles ages 18 to 34 self-report as virgins, compared to barely 20% in the U.S. And of course, less human copulation means less human. Of course, less human as virgins. Half of the country's millennial singles ages 18 to 34 self-report as virgins.
Oh my Lord. So remember, he just quoted 20, but that number is really 30% in America. Japan's at 50, self-reported. How many others feel shame and don't report? So 50 plus, so over half of men in Japan in the millennial bracket are virgin. Wow.
Compared to barely 20% in the U.S. And of course, less human copulation means less human population.
AI, relationships, they're going to get better and better and better, and they're going to supersede, in some ways, real physical relationships.
To foster human relationships, the Tokyo government has taken action. Yuriko Koike is the city's governor.
We are promoting for matchmaking by artificial intelligence.
Tokyo government is playing Omiye, playing matchmaker.
That's right.
Yes, the Japanese capital city has launched its own dating app.
Unreal.
Is it working?
Yes, it's working, and number of application is more than we expected, 3 or 4 times.
Tokyo is also set to introduce a 4-day work week for government employees, designed to help working mothers and hopefully boost.
An interesting twist on America's problem is that there's a clear gender division where women cannot stand and loathe men because of our flavor of feminism. I don't know, because I don't live in Japan, what that looks like between the gender norms, and their expectations there versus current reality. How do women see men and how do men see women there? Is there an adversarial nature, or do they understand that they're both kind of screwed? It's too expensive. We value, our studies more in the job prestige that we get and, doing our family proud in that sense, GDP over family. Essentially, that's what it is. Productivity over family, the saving face culture. Do they value that more, or do they actually butt heads between men and women? That's an interesting flavor. I'm not sure. I don't think so, that there's this problem, at least not as insane as America's.
Boost birth rates.
When the bubble economy was boosting, there was a commercial advertisement, work 24 hours. But the longer we work, the less children we have. So demography is one of the biggest national issue that we have to tackle.
But the Japanese government has rolled out a number of programs to address this declining birth rate. Are any of them working?
The total fertility rate for 2024 was reported to hit an all-time low. The continuing slide in the birth rate clearly indicates our current policy isn't working at all.
Until last year, Hanako Okada, now 44, was a lawyer in Tokyo and primary caregiver for her 2 children. Overworked and underfulfilled, she ran for parliament on a platform of trying to alter the culture for women, even breaking down in tears on the campaign trail describing her stress.
I remembered how tough it was to raise my child, and I burst into tears. It was overwhelming. And viewers probably thought, I'm a politician who gets what ordinary people have to deal with.
It was effective. She won unexpectedly. And Hanosan, as she's called, is now something of a political change agent. She says confronting the population problem requires not dating apps and shortened work weeks, but a sweeping mindset change. In particular, a rethinking of living in urban areas, as 92% of Japanese currently do. She practiced what she preaches, moving back to her rural hometown of Amari, a northern prefecture known for its apple orchards.
This is big, dude. So I've had a hypothesis on what's happening in the globalization of the world now that we're more interconnected than ever. With industrialization and all that, even up to today, there has been a steady drain from the remote countryside into urban centers where there is opportunities and jobs, okay? Now, that has killed small towns. You can see this all across America. If you've ever driven across country, you can see small towns. They used to be economically viable, no longer are. The population shrank. The businesses that were there shuttered, and you just see what was left. It's ghost towns everywhere. They're barely hanging on a thread by the people that were probably born and raised there. And, their kids have already left, but it's just them. And you see the shuttered windows, the shuttered building entrances. The buildings themselves are decrepit. It's a dying energy to that place. Okay. Then we've built these large urban centers that are concentrating most of our population. As the countryside now opens up and turns around to what she just did. We are seeing it right now, this revitalization in the thinking of get away from the city, get some land, live off the land a little bit, even if it is on a luxury kind of homesteading fashion. You're not fully dependent on the land. You're not fully, I should say, independent, actually. You still go to a grocery store. You still shop for things that you need, but you have a vegetable garden and you grow some extra things here and there. You may have a chicken coop and you grow some things there, and you sustain yourself, halfway while still depending on society on the other half. Okay. So we'll call that homesteading or luxury farming in a sense. But even then on a global scale, you're not noticing this because you're living in America, for example, the most powerful nation, richest nation on earth. There's brain drains. That's what they call them, brain drains. But there's also a population drain from, say, small countries like Romania or the Balkans. This is a perfect example because I've seen it happen where they've already experienced what I just described in their countrysides out into the large urban centers. But even other urban areas, the regional cities, are also losing population, losing people to countries that are wealthier. So now imagine it's the same thing. As people move to urban centers, now people are moving from poorer countries to richer countries for more opportunities and the like that the large urban centers provide you here in America. So there's a drain of a population that's concentrating in the few large populous countries that could support said population, or at least that could support opportunity and a potential for a high income. So there's a massive drain out of the Balkans happening where there will be nothing but land here left to buy and live your vacation home in the Balkan countryside where it's extremely quiet and I can get away from the madness of the mega global city I live in. That's what's happening. And so I think we're headed in this place where even countries, small ones, will be drained mostly of their people and downsized economically while, the big countries absorb all these people, the ones with huge population centers to, still be able to provide a good living. Because here in the Balkans, you have things like the brain drain or whatever you want to call the population drain is so bad that, dude, getting a doctor, a specialist is almost impossible. The amount of them that are quitting or how rare it is to find a specialist or how inundated with work they are and appointments is insane. To get basic things done, it's hard because the person you're supposed to speak to is on vacation or hasn't come into work in a while or just quit. So they're looking for a replacement or something of that nature. They don't have the staff. It's wild. And you need to live in large population centers to be able to even have a specialist that deals in something in oncology. Because if you have a problem here, for example, and you need to get something done that's specialized, you have to go somewhere else, most likely an even bigger country or a bigger city that houses the specialization that you need. Because you're not going to have somebody that's like, I don't know, front and center of the latest neurosurgical procedure, blah, 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 right? They're cutting edge doing cutting edge shit. That's not going to be in a small regional city of a country, of a small country. They have to be in the capital. And if they don't even exist in the capital, you have to go to a country nearby that has double, triple your population where that kind of line of work can be sustained. You understand? The globalization is shifting where people have to live to make a living today. And I think if you look at this as an organism, you're going to see that large countries will absorb the populations of smaller countries in time slowly through migration, like the EU is showing this, and that the large countries will then, they themselves be sustained by this migration while they're also seeing a population drop because the urbanization is what's killing our ability to live fulfilled lives. That's the stressful environment. It's like a mouse utopia thing, right? You stress the animal in a stress congested environment and population collapse is inevitable. The animals are too stressed to have sex. You can't afford kids. Cost of living's out of control. We're all cramming in one small spot. I think the best thing that could ever happen to explode populations again is if we can maintain the city wages with remote work so that people could just move out and then repopulate the countrysides and just live where cost of living makes sense, but you have the city wage and you could support a family and be happy, free, away from the madness and make your own little communities in that sense. We need de-urbanization. If you guys are tracking me, let me know what you think on that one.
But one that is rapidly aging, rapidly losing people. Built for 600 students, this Amari Middle School is now only 1/3 filled. They still learn the traditional shamisen. But there are too few kids to field a soccer team, and a competitive snowball fight means recruiting a visiting ringer.
Oh, nice.
Why'd you return?
Amari is my hometown. The precipitous drop in population and vitality of this city is deeply troubling, not just personally, but from a national perspective. If our regions collapse, it imperils our country's strength. I thought we can't allow the situation to go on.
Seen the math, I'm sure. Do you believe Japan can overcome this population crisis?
We need to stop the overconcentration of people in Tokyo. In the rural areas, we need interesting jobs with decent pay that allow young people to support themselves.
We're thinking, once there are more jobs in rural areas, the younger people will come. Once they come and experience the space, the slower rhythms, the quality of life, they'll be motivated to start families.
The values of our younger generation are gradually shifting. Tokyo is no longer the be-all, end-all.
One such Japanese family that agrees, the Katos. They recently exchanged city life for this spacious house in Ichinono, land of puppets. Their son Koronosuke was the first baby born in the village in more than 20 years.
We've got a mountain and a river to explore. We make our own toys and grow our own vegetables. For a kid, there's plenty of ways to have fun here.
You're happy here?
Yes, I truly enjoy this lifestyle.
The Katos hope others will follow, that Koronosuke will have friends and classmates among all the town's dolls.
It takes us back to our roots. I want Japanese people to become more aware of this lifestyle, which is closer to our traditional way of living.
It might be a traditional Japanese lifestyle, but amid a population decline, it will be in a smaller, lonelier, and fundamentally different Japan.
Mm-hmm. When both parents are forced to work to simply live, hello, does that sound like the world today? Dinks, we give him a name. Dinks, dual income, no children. Having a child is becoming a luxury now. You see, that's why I said we need a complete shift in the narrative for children and how we view it as a culture completely. What's wrong with young people? Why don't they have kids? Never ask any young people what their situation is. Dude went to the arcade and did 0 interviews with all the young adults. Nice work, my man. Glad the 80-year-old mayor can fill me in. Having a child you cannot afford or spend quality time with is irresponsible. There it is. Listen to all this. Why not interview young people and ask them for the reasons for not wanting to get married? It's disappointing to see journalists asking the same people, politicians in this case, that caused the problem as to why the problem exists. Don't have kids if you can't afford them. Wait, not like that. In China, most young people now embrace this saying. If a child is coming into the world only to inherit the suffering of their parents, not being born is a kind of salvation for them. Ooh-wee. People can't afford it. What the fuck do you expect them to do? No money, no babies. Yeah, no one interviews, or he said not one interview of a person who is single without kids. If you're trying to analyze the problem, why not ask the people who are experiencing it rather than focusing on politicians and experts? Yeah, it's true. We didn't get a single interview for the young people of Japan. The rich took it all. The rich got richer. The middle class got poor. Bingo, my Baltimore Raven fan. Listen to this guy. Living in Japan for several years as a Navy man, married a Japanese national, and we have a 2-year-old daughter together. A lot of our Japanese friends and family members are childless and will remain so. For what it's worth, Japanese society has done a stellar job at convincing people to not have children. The worst people are having the most kids, and the best people are having the least. Idiocracy is real. And this guy hits the pain point, really. Corporations did this. They are solely to blame for all of it. I wouldn't say solely to blame, but they are a huge reason. Corporate culture has been very pervasive in general culture, pretty much throughout all of society now, that they've become so powerful, more powerful than a lot of countries. And they turn society into a giant commodity. Everything is to be monetized. Everything. Every aspect, from dating to getting married to watching TV, right? To talking on the phone, to whatever it is. And look, every aspect of society is commodified at the benefit of corporations. You got to pay to match somebody. You got to pay to find someone near you who wants to date. Despite us having a population crisis, right? Think about that. The dating apps want to keep you single and keep you looking and paying. We don't have a system that rewards family planning. I mean, it costs $10,000 or more to have a kid on insurance, right? So the insurance companies rip off the hospitals, who then have to negotiate with them, which raises your price. And then you have to pay a stupid out of pocket. Imagine paying $2,000 a month or whatever for health insurance for your entire family. And then you still have a copay after you have your kid. Oh, that bill will be $2,500, $4,700 after You already paid $2,000. Oh, but you're lucky because the bill was really like $17,000. You're lucky to only pay $3,000. Are you fucking shitting me? If I pay $2,000 a month for health insurance, I don't want any fucking pay, anything. I walk into the hospital, they welcome me in, I do whatever the fuck I want, and not a single penny better come out of my motherfucking pockets. Even if I drop that shit, the nurse better pick it up and put it back if I'm unconscious. That's what $2,000 a month of insurance needs to do for you. And even that's fucking expensive as shit. It's unreal that there's still copay. I swear to you, dude, shop around insurances in the rest of the world and look at America's. It's a fucking racket. You spend $800 for that good plan. $400, $700, $1,200 for the family, $1,600. And there's a fucking deductible still? Are you out of your fucking mind? Unbelievable. That shit makes me sick, dude. And then they get Luigi'd every once in a while, and people are like, oh my God, think about the poor CEO. He had a family. Yeah, think about all the fucking people he killed by not approving their fucking treatments because they wanted to save some money on their bottom fucking dollar, bro. I'm not justifying what happened, but I understand. I'm not justifying or even calling for CEOs to start dropping like flies, but I understand that there's a person pushed to the brink and just starts offing motherfuckers left and right. That people in these precarious situations where they feel like they have no other options, no way out, and they're facing either death or their family was, and the system is so corrupt and broken that they couldn't get the care they needed, and one of the most powerful countries on earth, that CEOs and upper fucking C-suite staff start getting fucking dropped. I understand. Unreal. They had a chick, I just saw her on Twitter. She went fucking viral for this. X, whatever you want to call that shit. She has insurance and she takes $30. She has a $30 copay for her insulin medication or something of that nature. She's on some sort of medication and it's $30 a month and she needs it every month. And she's been paying this for like the last 12 months or so. I can't remember what exact medication it was. Okay, medication X. The health insurance raised that shit up to $900 a month, something therein. But they came out with a new plan for the uninsured people. It is now $30 a month that they're charging her. So it actually makes sense to go uninsured for the medication she's on to get the $30 deal that insurance or the pharmaceutical company is now offering. Because it costs you more on insurance. Explain that shit to me. So when we have problems like that, and people go, I don't know about having kids. It's like, you think about all the medical visits. Think about, the cost of a child. I can't even afford health insurance for myself, and I'm struggling to have a house. And this is how we arrive at the problem. These people are fucking clueless, bro. It's a racket because these corporations are funding the campaigns of Trump, of the next retard from the fucking Democrat side. Whoever's going to run next, they got their pockets deep with pharmaceutical companies, the health insurance companies, the fucking food industry, all these people. The problem is the money has infected our politics. And until we address that, they got to repeal Citizens United. If we don't, we're done, bro. We're done. Citizens United was the final nail in the coffin for actual democracy of the people in America. It is now a democracy of the corporations and special interests. That's why you feel like you're getting fucked. That's why you hear corporations have now posted record profits. Oh my God, next trillion-dollar company. Wow, this company has reached $1 trillion valuation. Oh my God, while you're getting poorer and poorer. The system works exactly as intended. If you're a corporation, life's never been better. If you're a citizen, life's never been worse. Fucking unreal, dude. Just saying. Anywho, let me know what you think of my rambling. Leave a comment, boys. Leave a comment of Citizens United, if you made it this far, please. It helps us deeply from getting out of the little suppression we're in. And take care of yourselves.